Inspiration in D&D is uninspired, and I aim to fix that. Bonjour, Morpheus Pipeheads. No, I'm not talking about Bardic Inspiration. I'm talking about that checkbox in the upper left corner of your character sheet. It may or may not have a checkmark you've carried around for the last 5 sessions, because you either forgot it existed, or you're waiting for the best, most meaningful way to use it, but it just won't come. Which means missing out on collecting more from your cool roleplay moments. Forget that. Let's use them like you're spamming the jump button in Skyrim to get over a mountain. Inspiration is a resource the DM can reward to players who roleplay in an interesting way that is true to the character they're playing. The character can then use it to gain advantage, or to negate disadvantage on any future situation. The rules in the player's handbook state, you either have inspiration, or you don't. You can't stockpile multiple inspirations for later use. Lame. If only we DMs could change the rules to make the game night more fun. Oh, wait. Allow your players to hold multiple inspiration points at once. It makes for a really epic moment if they go multiple sessions in a row, really killing the roleplay, and then bring all of that with them to the boss fight at the end of the adventure. Allow your players to use inspiration for more than just advantage. I like to give them the option on a critical hit, or if they beat an enemy's AC by 10 or more, to spend their inspiration in order to get an extra effect. A melee attack might trip the target, a scorching ray might light the enemy on fire, or an arrow might pierce the target and deal half damage to the target behind them. This should evoke a cool roleplay moment that adds mechanical benefits to the player, so let them be creative and try to at least meet their ideas halfway. Gust of Wind pointed straight down technically does nothing, but I would allow a player to spend an inspiration to launch themselves in the air 15 feet at the risk of falling flat on their face if they don't have a good plan before hitting the ground. This is a good way to balance the rule of cool and mechanical balance, because by merit of the inspiration point, your players have earned the shenanigans to bypass the ruling once, and it can be justified as, you felt inspired to do something unconventional, and it worked. You don't know if you could do it again on command, but it worked this time. If a player beats out a skill check by 10 or more, let them use inspiration to get more from the check, if it's applicable. Maybe a high stealth check will negate a bad stealth check from someone in your party, as a player shares their expertise with them. If you use tools in your game, and a player uses alchemist supplies to brew a health potion, rolls really high, have that be a health potion plus, granting them max healing of 10 instead of rolling the dice. Rumors and karma. It's up to you how much extra work you want your players to track, so these next 2 house rules can be separate from inspiration, or they could all add to and take from the same pool. I think it's easier to have them all tied to inspiration. Let me explain. You know when someone says, I want to ask around the tavern for relevant info, and the DM goes, I don't have anything prepared for this. A remedy I've come up with is rumors. If you don't have relevant info to give, then just have your player roll their charisma check anyways, and if they meet the DC you have set, maybe somewhere between 12 and 15, then you can tell them, you hear a rumor that doesn't seem relevant yet. Take a point of inspiration. Rumors can then help the players out. If your players encounter a new NPC which hasn't been introduced yet, they can ask, hey, can I spend a point of inspiration to recall a rumor? And if this NPC has any reputation in your game, then this is a good way to retroactively let your players know, yeah, you heard a rumor about somebody by the same name. They're known to be friendly or antagonistic to your cause. If it's a boss enemy, maybe add in a tip like, it's said that their crossbow bolts are coated in a painful poison. Rumors could apply to places or significant objects as well, like magic items. Karma. This is my favorite part of the entire house rule. There are 2 parts to karma, bad karma and good karma. Bad karma is additional consequences the player chooses to take on in order to gain inspiration. Good karma is a way to spend inspiration to gain benefits outside of combat. In combat, bad karma can come up when a player rolls a natural 1. This is an opportunity for the DM to offer, if you overcommit to this attack, wildly missing and fall prone with that natural 1, I will give you a point of inspiration if you don't get back up this turn. This adds to the narrative of the fight. Suddenly, an ally is prone on the ground after an epic fail, and the enemy is now set up to have advantage on melee attacks against them. Try to offer conditions that don't stop your players from taking their turn, but instead hinder them. Offer inspiration for critically missing an arrow shot and hitting an ally next to the target instead. The big thing is that it's up to the player to accept the karma, don't force it. Offer it. In social situations, a player could ask to take bad karma when they're first being introduced to an NPC. An example being, hey, DM, I'm a rogue. This NPC we're talking to is a guard. I think I need to hide my face because I've probably had a run-in with this guy before. The DM could then agree, yeah, I'll give you a point of inspiration if you don't roll to hide your face though. Instead, he's going to recognize you and you're going to have disadvantage to get info from him, due to him not having a reason to trust you. Bad karma can also come up if a player gives into any vices before an important play. If they're an alcoholic character, and choose to get drunk before making any rolls, give them inspiration for accepting any consequences of getting drunk before a fight or a skill check. This is also amazing for character growth, as the player now has mechanical reason to give into their flaws and vices. If the hot-headed character holds their tongue for once, deciding not to take the inspiration, that's them roleplaying their character having grown. They have now denied a mechanical benefit in favor of their character having grown as a person, being able to show that. Or if there's a player whose character is regressing, they might start giving into every opportunity they can for bad karma. It is very tasty flavor for your game. Now, we look at how inspiration and bad karma can be cashed in. Players can ask for good karma to get bonuses relevant to their character and situation. Similar to the critical success roll from the beginning, this focuses more on out-of-combat situations and doesn't rely on rolling well. When meeting an NPC for the first time, instead of gaining inspiration through bad karma to have a negative disposition, the player can instead ask to use an inspiration to gain good karma. Maybe the party is meeting a contact from the Thieves Guild. Now that same rogue could offer that this contact is an old friend of his. A lot of time may have passed, so the contact might not be willing to give them exactly what they want, but the rogue can still spend a point of inspiration for good karma to be in good standings with this contact. They might be willing to go out of their way without the player needing a roll. It all comes down to what makes sense and adds to the narrative. Anything that encourages good roleplay without being disruptive to the other players, that is good gameplay. I've simplified it for my players by issuing inspiration points to keep track of inspiration, rumors, and karma, because let's face it, you're already lucky if your players are keeping track of their spell slots. You don't need to add more to their plates. However, if your party is used to heavier rules like Pathfinder or D&D 3.5 edition, then you could totally give each type its own resource. Encourage better roleplay and dynamic fights with these changes to inspiration. This has been D&D inspiration advice from your friendly neighborhood Gelatinous Mage. Here are some more specific ideas for how your players could use inspiration. Throwing sand in the eyes of enemies to blind them for 1 round. Gaining reputation from persuasion checks, which carries over while in the place that they made the check. Saving a use of a lockpick. Gaining +1 to all attack rolls, saving throws, save DCs, and or skill checks versus a rival NPC that their character is very familiar to the fighting style of, such as a childhood friend who is now a bad guy. Ideas to gain inspiration, such as on a natural 1. Have your attack parried, so you drop your weapon. Have your failed spell explode in your face, so you take damage. Take an opportunity attack if an enemy nat 20 is on a saving throw from you. Decide your character is afraid of spiders, and skip your first turn of combat against them, or don't make any attacks against them throughout the entire combat. Or say your character can't make attacks against them. Insult somebody you shouldn't to their face and take a hit without starting combat. Push that big red button without making any skill checks beforehand to investigate. Pick up the obviously cursed magic item. Look for situations to reward your players for instigating, moving the plot forward, or acting in character without metagaming.